You are listening to Let's Talk TRIO on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk TRIO on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This podcast episode is brought to you by Longsdale Publishing. Is your program seeking ways to assess your students' college readiness? Does your program need a tool to document the effectiveness of your program? Longsdale Publishing is excited to offer the Strategic Learning Assessment, a 20-minute online assessment that provides recommendations and strategies to improve academic performance across 11 learning areas: communication, critical thinking, effective learning strategies, focus and concentration, growth mindset, persistence, seeking help, sense of belonging, stress management, test preparation, and time management. For as little as $3 per student, the Strategic Learning Assessment identifies strengths and areas for growth, along with tailored recommendations for each learning area. Want a complimentary sample account for yourself and 5 students? Contact Longsdale Publishing at 727-389-8026. Again, that number is 727-389-8026. Or visit our website for more information at www.longsdale.com. That website again is www.longsdale.com. Longsdale Publishing, your partner in student success. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in TRIO software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows TRIO programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former TRIO staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with TRIO. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hey everyone, welcome back. We know we've been away on a bit of a hiatus, but we are so energized to be back in your ears. Most importantly, we're ready to get back to what we do best, elevating the stories, the wins, and the updates from our incredible TRIO community. This is Season 7, Episode 29. I am your host, Juan Rivas. Before we begin, some community announcements. TRIO Nation, your voice is working. While Congress is moving to protect our funding for 2026, we must remain vigilant. Administrative shifts still threaten the stability of our grants. Take action now by calling your congressional representatives today. Thank them for their bipartisan support and urge them to ensure TRIO programs remain fully funded and operational without delay. You are showing that TRIO works. North Carolina Central University is hosting their annual Student Access and Success Conference in 2026. Click the link located on the episode description to learn more. In today's episode, we have Cassandra Puletapuai, who is a graduate student at Colorado State University and a staff member with the TRIO McNair program. Cassandra is on the podcast to share her educational journey, being in a PhD program, and how she discovered TRIO McNair. coming up in just a bit. Cassandra Puletapuai. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters: Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Eric Lamaster, Jeff Calden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors: TRIOJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, Longsdale Publishing, Student Access, and TheTrioStore.com, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for TRIO graduation stoles. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you own a business that serves the TRIO community and want to sponsor the podcast, we have different sponsorship packages available. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. Your support helps lift TRIO voices. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Cassandra Puletapuai, graduate student at Colorado State University and staff member with the TRIO McNair program. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is a graduate of the University of Missouri, Kansas City, obtaining a degree in geological and earth sciences and geosciences. Also graduated from Pittsburgh State University with a master's in industrial technology technician, and is currently a doctoral candidate seeking an education, equity, and transformation at Colorado State University. She serves as a graduate support assistant for the McNair Scholars Program at CSU. When she is not busy assisting students with pursuing their degrees or studying and researching for her doctoral program, my guest enjoys dancing, which includes modern, hula, and specializes in tap. Welcome to the podcast, Cassandra Puletapuai. Cassandra, welcome.
Thank you so much, Juan. I'm happy to be here and be with your wonderful listeners. It is such a wonderful opportunity to share my story. So happy New Year. Also, by the way, we are now in 2026. It has passed by so quickly.
Happy 2026 to you as well. Happy New Year. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, still on break. And so I am enjoying all of these little bits. For example, like watching, as a grad student, you're very, very busy. So I am enjoying reading non-research things and books, watching a movie from start to finish without my laptop in front of me.
That's important.
It is. And so I have learned, I guess the theme would be the simple joys in life. Wow. I so appreciate that.
That's wonderful. So we are about to start the spring semester here at CSU. What are you looking forward to most this semester?
Well, I will say my doctoral journey is wrapping up. I will be graduating with my PhD, which I'm so excited. Yes, insert fireworks emojis here. And so that is what I'm looking forward and to begin my postdoc, which I do a lot in STEM education, creative sciences, indigenous knowledges. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more interdisciplinary work with the community.
Well, congratulations. I know that doctoral path is very difficult and very challenging. I'm so happy that you are going through it and that you're at the finish line, basically.
Yes, it is. It's been to highlight what you said, it's a journey, right? It is definitely a journey. It's something that you have to pace yourself, and it takes a lot of progress. And I'm very glad to be here at the end for that one huge moment that I have been dreaming of for a long time. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for sharing that journey with us and talking about it here. Can you tell me a little bit about your hobbies? At the very top of the podcast, we said that you like to dance. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you get introduced to it?
Sure. I have been dancing as a kid nonstop.
Oh, wow.
It reminds me of my parents like dancing in the back of the car where they're looking at me like, put your seatbelt on. I'm like, okay, I just hear my favorite song. But I've always loved dance since I was a child. But it was really interesting because I stopped dancing because I got more into sciences and I was like, okay, I have to put this away. And then when I actually started my doctoral journey in 2021, I got
Hmm.
back into it because I was looking, as you said, the doctoral journey is no joke, first generation. There was a lot of stressors on there, and I wanted to have a really amazing, healthy, and creative outlet. And so I came across dance. I tried it one time at our local, it's called Impulse Dance and Fitness, tried a tryout class, and I've been hooked ever since. So I really do love it. And again, not only do I love it because I get to be creative, but it's also a really great well-being coping mechanism. And so now dance, what I love to do, and I know this is going on a little bit, but I love doing dance communication and translating dance into research.
That's awesome. I love that. Reflecting on 2025, what is something that you learned about yourself last year?
I I would say there was a lot, but the most important thing I learned was that this was my doctoral journey. A lot of times, dealing with, I know you hear these words thrown around like imposter syndrome, and it
Mm,
took this long for a while for me to realize that this is my journey and how I see it is going to be how I see it. And most people coming up at the stage have never been here before, or especially what I do. So one of
right.
the biggest things I've learned is to embrace who I am. Good vulnerability, all these different pieces that make Cassandra who I am, because that is how I see the world. That is how I translate and interpret my understanding of it, and being okay with that, and being okay to be confident in being able to share those stories.
Absolutely. What are some goals that you have set for yourself in 2026, aside from graduating with your doctoral degree?
Oh, absolutely. My goal definitely is going to be to keep finding out who I am as a researcher, a scholar, a dancer, and keep basically merging these worlds together to be able to architect a path that I like in research. Because what I'm doing is not really out there when people say, oh, how do you combine dance and science education together? And it's through
Hmm.
science communication. So those are some of the fun goals that I want to do is keep pushing the boundaries of what people sometimes say traditionally cannot be done. Same thing. So I feel this a little more personal being first gen, where it's like, yeah, all the time we're exploring, all the time we're being the leaders. And so being a forefront leader through transformative change and how I see the world as arts and science.
Wonderful. Looking at the colleges that you've attended, I would say, or one would say, you're very well traveled. How did all that happen to you? Because you went to Kansas, or no, sorry, Missouri, and then to here to Colorado State.
Yeah, so I will say, as it kind of roots back to my childhood, I am an Army brat. So both my parents served the military. So I have been transplanted very many times all over the country. But that kind of embedded when I looked at learning and education is learning from different communities, learning from different places and spaces. And I did have an undergrad professor, which I'm so grateful to. When I was talking about, continuing on or looking at different colleges to go. And he was very supportive and said, you should, because there's so many ways people think. There's so many ways that people do things. You should figure out for yourself, like, what is that and where do you fall into the context of that? So he was very encouraging of me to see the world. So that's how I ended up in all these different places. And then also it has to deal with where you get your acceptance letter too.
Oh, that's so true. Well, so let's rewind the clocks a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about your family and yourself?
Sure. Let's see, where do I start? I would say the beginning, my parents served the military. So we traveled all over the different places and spaces. Right now they're retired and it's just me and my siblings right now, which I'm really excited because I have an auntie um, recently for my sister. So shout out to you, excited. And then also my brother who just had a kid on Christmas. So auntie twice over.
Aw,
But they live in the South and I live up here. And I have family that's spread out in Alaska and a lot parts of the southern part of the States.
that's wonderful. How would your family describe you?
I would say independent.
Independent. I
Yes,
like that.
yes, independent and also an explorer. But I will say, looking at this, my father called me the scholar warrior. So
The
that was my,
scholar warrior. I like that.
yeah, the scholar warrior because of my path and where what it's led to, the challenges, the obstacles I've experienced. And to him, I always had a warrior spirit and not letting
Oh,
these
that's awesome.
things, detract me off my path.
Absolutely. Can you tell me what's a childhood memory that you often think about?
One of two. There's actually two. The first
Go for it.
one was the one that interested me in going into sciences, which was seeing Jurassic Park. I remember seeing that on the movie
Ooh.
theaters and
Uh-huh.
seeing dinosaurs, being interested, wanting to learn more, and learning about what paleontologists and what they do.
Oh,
So that was my
nice.
early science, like my early science memory, I think. And then my second one, I really do hold on to this. I remember I was in second grade and they had AB honor roll or A honor roll. And I remember the
Hmm.
elementary teacher would put the stars and the names of the students on the wall. And I remember I was just sitting in the class and he looked at me and he was like, Cassandra, do you know where you are on the wall? And I was like, no. And he points up and I was the only gold star, the only person at the time that was on A honor roll. The rest of my classmates were on AB honor roll. And I really love
Oh.
that memory because it reminded me the way it looked, where I was the gold star and all these other AB honor roll stars were behind me, but just in the sense of being a leader. But I love thinking about this memory because, like I said, when that imposter syndrome comes in or when you doubt yourself, I always hold on to that to say, you need to reflect back to those childhood memories of you just being you and just leading
Hmm.
this path that you wanted to lead. So that's my almost like a mantra, right? Like memory that I love to conjure up.
Absolutely. What do you remember most about your early education as you talk about it? Because it sounds like that particular memory really sticks out because it speaks to the warrior, academic warrior that you are.
Yeah, it really does. And I hold on to a lot of those little memories, but like I said, those ones in there because how influential they were to me, and I didn't realize it at the time, but especially with like this interview and coming to the close of this doctoral journey and being literally the first person to like have all those three degrees, like the first to go to college, the first to get my undergrad, master's, and now this PhD. Um, it just reminded me of those early signs where it's like, see, you had it in you the whole time. You always had it.
Ah,
But, again, when sometimes you look in the mirror, you're just like, oh, I just so doubt myself. So that's what I appreciate about those early memories and how they shaped who I am. And thinking about my family calling me the scholar warrior, having the
absolutely.
honor to do that, having the honor to be the first to lead the pathway.
Absolutely. As a kid, do you remember what you wanted to be?
Oh, yes. I knew it's hilarious. I was going to be a doctor. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
like, with dinosaurs and then being crushed to be like, oh, they really don't exist at this time. Like, I was like, oh, there's an island. They're so cool. Like, let me go dinosaurs. But then I realized I was like, no, I'm a few million years on that. Um, but I always knew at some point I really loved, and I don't know if you remember Dr. Floyd Medicine Woman. That
I kind of
fascinated
vaguely
me.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, and we're like Bill Nye the Science Guy. Those were really instrumental to me being like, I want to be at that level. I want to discover. I love learning. I want to see what's out there. I want to experiment. So it's interesting to think about that. And it's like, here I am about to graduate with my PhD. So what am I trying to say, y'all? Dreams come true. Dreams come true.
put it out there, Cassandra. Put it out there.
Yep.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success?
Look no further. Nosotros Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. Nosotros Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
And now, back to the podcast. Did you have a favorite subject or topic at school?
I would say I have always loved, it's interesting. So I've always had this interdisciplinary mind. I always loved history. I always loved art. I always loved science.
Ooh.
I just loved learning in particular, or like seeing different aspects where I was like, what happens if I combine this and that, and getting very like mad science about my homework on my you know. So those were so it was just all subjects.
Awesome. If you don't mind me asking, I'm going to take a small tangent. What period of history? So I majored in history in college. What period of history did you enjoy studying the most?
Ancient history, and I even took a
Ancient.
class of women in ancient history. So
Wow.
that was really fascinating because, and that also, I think about that in my undergrad, that is what led me to looking at the unsung heroes, the small stories that are in there that we don't hear about. And in particular with women in ancient history, almost all the historical artifacts actually
Hmm.
made from women can fit on a small dining room table. Because a
That's
lot of
awesome.
times
Yeah.
in history, the perspective was given through men. So men were writing the history of women at that time, and there was really cool things I found out about women inventing beer, uh,
Oh, cool.
like creating the middle class with hair and nails, or should I say hair and makeup, ancient Egypt. So I studied ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome,
Wow.
that period.
Sweet. Did you or your family take steps in preparing you for high school? Like, did you take proactive steps to prepare for high school as you made that transition, or did family talk to you about what to expect in high school?
Yeah, so I would say the transition was more adapting because, like I said, my both my parents moved all over the country. So, depending on the area and the geographic location, they were very much into figuring out what the community was like. So we were always brought around to like museums, or if there was some kind of public event or art markets, just to feel the local flavor of that area and preparing in that. Both my parents did go to high school. So they were very encouraging of telling me how important it was. And also being able to reach out, I think was really key. My parents were not afraid to reach out to professors or counselors or other community members to have that exposure for those unique
Hmm.
challenges or like support that I may have needed to go into college. But going into college, you hit on that. That is where I could see they were really supportive and like, yeah, you need to reach out. We've already reached this level, but no one has been here at this level. You're
Oh,
going to need to
wow.
talk to these individuals.
I was just about to ask you, at what point did the college conversation enter your space? Like, was that a very easy transition for your parents to talk about, or was it more of a let you bring it up first and then them telling you, like, this is as far as we got, you need to talk to somebody else?
Yeah, so it was kind of like a little bit of a mix in the sense of like, well, if you want to go to college, we support that. But if you want to go out and go get a job, we support that too. Because
Hmm.
again, they didn't know what that experience was in the realm, but they said, we going to college is going to be a really great experience. And they were very supportive of that and reaching to other people to be able to have those conversations and get that knowledge and process it through. And they too, like it became a deal of me teaching them about what that experience is, like doing an application process, or they need this kind of
Right,
information. So they
right.
were very supportive of me going up there. But as I got higher into these tiers of levels, then that's when I realized and relied in that feel like I developed another community within, right? Your academic family, basically, where I remember teachers and counselors that were, I'm like, hey, how do you write this personal statement? How do you do this? Because I already knew that my parents were already at this limitation. And of course they could look over, but they didn't understand, what were they looking for or what were these structures, but still very
Right.
supportive. They're like, we will cheer you on, but we can we love you.
Absolutely.
We don't know what's going on, but we're going to cheer you on.
So who served as your guidance folk person, that person that provided that guidance to enter into college?
It would be my advisors. I have leaned heavily on my advisors so much because they were literally, and I remember my master's advisor. I'm going to give this example where I remember coming up to her, and I can't believe I said this, but at the time, that just shows you the doubt because I was like, halfway through my master's, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about getting my PhD. I don't know. And then I asked her, I'm like, am I smart enough to do this? And she just looked at me and
Hmm.
was like, hey, are you a hard worker? And I said, well, yes. And she's like, yeah, then you can just PhD. That's what you need. And I was so appreciated for her for advocating. But I've had so many individuals, like it says, it takes a village that were
It
really
truly
cheering
does.
me on and mentors. And I want to add on there, not only advisors, but I had mentors, several mentors that had different gifts or expertise to help me get this accomplished. But I do remember that one advisor, and I'm so grateful. And even my one right now here at CSU that has been cheering me on, of course, you can do this. You have this ability.
I'm curious, what colleges made your list when you began that process?
It was several. I applied to everything, but here's what I will tell you, the colleges that made the list. It was the ones that aligned with my values and really understood the first generation experience and
Hmm.
individuals who understood that because I will tell you, it's all been literally state schools that I've applied to or smaller private colleges because I wanted to have that more intimate experience, but also have that support that was tailored more towards me. So I did
Right.
not apply to your bigger name brand schools because I knew I was going to get lost. And I already knew no, no, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I was like, for me, I felt going more to a school that would be very personable and extremely supportive with all their resources and knowledgeable about first generation experiences.
Before we move away from the high school questions, I want to ask about your high school experience and the
Mhm.
moment you graduated from high school. What was that like for you?
Sure. So high school was really wonderful. I got to, because again, my both my parents were in the military. I attended three different schools within that time. So my last year I was in Illinois, and I really appreciated having again all that support from counselors that knew me really well, teachers that built those relationships and helping me navigate all those questions again that we just talked about, like how do you do this or how do I look for something like this?
Right.
And they were just really valuable about that. And me, I would say looking at young me,
Hmm.
having, being so open-minded and exploratory and asking for help. And that was the thing that I feel like also encouraged my parents was like, hey, ask for help. Do not be ashamed to ask for help. We don't know everything. And so I'm so glad I had that conversation. And then leading up to the point of graduation, I will say I was very happy. Everyone was very happy. My mother cried several times in there.
Oh.
And, yes, it's so endearing. But at the time in high school, I'm like, I was like, we can hear you wailing back there. But, now I see. Because it was
But to
literally
you,
non.
yeah, to you, you must have felt that the journey was not over, that high school graduation was just like, okay, that's done. On to the next thing.
Exactly. Yes, I felt it inside of me. And it's something, again, that it feels like this little ember, right? It's this tiny
Hmm.
little voice that's talking to you. And that's your inner voice telling you, like, hey, there's something else you need to discover. There's something more with you. There are greater things that you want to accomplish out of this life, and you should get it. And so, yeah, hearing that little voice and, like I said, that community just fanning that flame. And that's when I was like, okay, I know I'm going to go to college. And same thing, having this conversation of that inner voice getting stronger and stronger. It's like, okay, you got your undergrad. Now you're going to go get your master's. And then from there, like,
Wow,
oh, you're really going to go get your PhD. You're not done with us.
that's awesome. You decided to attend the University of Missouri in Kansas City. What contributed to your decision to attend this school?
I would say I was looking for something different, but like I said, I graduated in high school in Illinois in the Quad Cities area. And I knew I wanted to kind of, what was important to me, right? Was still matching kind of that Midwestern feel, being more in the city. And so there was just things I just looked at of like compatibility. So I just had a list basically of the things that were really, really important to me that I were like non-negotiable. And then there are things where I'm like, okay, if they don't have this or something there, it's okay. I will live. So, but anyway, and then also the great barbecue. So Kansas City had a really great
Ooh,
feel, and yes, they are a barbecue town, and that is one of
nice.
my favorite staples. So of course I was like, yeah, this is gonna work out well.
I love that you kind of transitioned with unknowingly or maybe knowingly or intentionally. This next question is talk about the moment you set foot to campus and what did you feel? What was some of your emotions that you went through?
It was a mixed bag, but it was a lot of excitement. I didn't know what was going to be in store. And the first thing that happened, and I should have clarified, I had also gotten a scholarship too,
Oh,
transfer
cool.
scholarship, to go to Kansas City. Because I will say previously, I forgot to mention, I was at a community college just getting a couple classes here and there out of the way for that experience. And then that's when Kansas City offered me a scholarship to come in, and it was this event they were hosting for all their recipients. And I was like, okay, this is a great opportunity to see what it's like. So stepping up on the campus, it was surreal. I had butterflies in my stomach. At first, I was super, super nervous, but then when I stepped foot on there, I knew I was like, this is where I belong. This is what you are meant to do. This is your dream. If you don't believe it, like you are actually living your dream. And it's so magical. And I feel that way, by the way, stepping on campus every single time because it's like a little reminder where it's like, did I do that? Yes, you did.
Yeah. Wow. So let's stay on this little point for a little bit. Talk about that experience in college. What do you remember most about your experience at the University of Missouri in Kansas City?
I would say it was the relationships that I built, the
Mm.
individuals, of
Hmm.
with certain professors, but also my classmates. It was something where I wasn't the only one that was like first generation. There were international students there, other people, and having those like the thing I loved about was having a shared experience together. So we all came from different walks of life. And what I love together is that we were all bonded together by wanting a future, by wanting whatever it was. We were all chasing our dreams in that spot. And we also had our instructors and professors and advisors who were our guides that were helping us architect that way. So my fond thing in my experience, I will always remember building those really positive relationships, encouraging relationships in community, and sharing within all different types of experiences from like, going to go to out and do field work together, or we're going to go out to happy hour, or go out to go see a wonderful play production. So those are the great things
Right.
that I really look back and I'm so fond to see so many different people, again, from all different walks of life. We all have that same point coming together of that goal of wanting to live our dreams.
Absolutely. Can you share with us your decision to major in geological and earth sciences? Like, what was that process like?
Oh, yes. Oh, that was such a process. I cannot even tell you. I spent days on it of thinking about.
Yeah?
I had at the time where you had the courses out, and I printed out like the different fields, and I like remember
Oh, for
laying them
sure.
out on the table,
Yeah.
and it came down to what is it that I could see myself doing? And I realized at a
Mm.
very young point, I'm a very hands-on person. If you give me an office job where I have to look at a computer all day, it's not gonna last. Like I knew immediately there. So looking at the things that I liked, my talents, being outside. So it came down to geology and studying environmentalism. And what sold me on geology was the ability to be outside doing field work. And again, I was like, this is how I can get to being like Ellie Sadler from Jurassic Park and being a paleontologist and doing archaeology. So that was the other thing too, is I looked at the possible jobs and I realized geology was a job or a field connected to the
Hmm.
fields.
Wow. So, at what point in your undergrad did you think maybe I should pursue a master's? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's more school on top of that, right?
It is. Oh, it's so is. I can't even tell you. That's what I was counting the other day when somebody's like, "You realize you've been in school in over a decade?" I was like, "Wow,
Well,
thanks
when they say it
for
like that.
yeah, so worth it, so worth it."
Absolutely.
It, what made me, and it was interesting. I'll tell you, my path was I actually took a little break and I wanted to get professional experience. So I went out and I worked in hydrogeology firms, engineering firms, had a great
Hmm.
thing to do, and that's when I was like working, and I was like, that little inner voice was talking to me that was like, you remember you love learning. Is this what you wanted to do? And like having those moments of self-reflection. And so I thought
Hmm.
about it for a
Hmm.
while, but it was great. I got professional experience, but I realized as I was going through that process that listening to that inner voice to tell me to say, "Hey, you want to come back to school. You know you did." And I'm so glad
Yeah.
I did. It was the right decision for me. And going through that. And the other thing I will say, thinking about a master's after going my undergrad, it was amazing to have reflection on that to say, hey, you know what? You were able to do that. You can definitely
Hmm.
do a master's. Like,
Wow.
go for it.
So you graduated from the University of Missouri in Kansas City and then pursued a master's after a brief break in
Hmm.
Pittsburgh State University in Kansas. It sounds
Hmm.
like this move kept you super busy. Can you talk about that process? Because it sounds like you were just kind of like one school after another. That's what it feels like to me anyway.
Oh, yes, it can definitely seem like that on there. The process, I will say with Pittsburgh, Kansas, it was really nice. I was able to do my master's online. So I was
Oh, wow.
able,
Cool.
yeah, because it's a tech degree. And so the cool thing was they had asynchronous, were very similar like now where we're meeting online, or some of the
Hmm.
classes, they were so high tech, like literally you would zoom in and be there live, but on
Wow.
screen. So
Yeah.
I was able to work and be able to go to school on that. But it was quite the journey. It was a little different because I realized when I got to my master's, I was like, in your undergrad, you're taking all these different classes. It's very like a broad brushstroke of knowledge. And then they were like, I was like, wait a minute, what's the thesis thing we have to do? Like, what are we doing?
Oh, no, no kidding. Yeah, the
Yeah.
thesis, and suddenly you're doing more research, and yeah.
Right. And that's when I had that experience again where I was like, oh my goodness, that imposter syndrome, she is
Mm-hmm.
creeping back up, all this self-doubt, anxiety wailing. And then I realized I was like, well, what did you do when you were in your undergrad? Oh, of course, you had really great community and you established that. And again, that's why I had a really amazing advisor who understood the unique challenges I had being there. And then also in these type fields, identify as part indigenous, so always the only one in those spaces. And So coming to her, and she was just very supportive on being able to provide the different resources for me or send other experts like, hey, I think you should talk to this individual. Let me introduce you. Let me help you network. And that is what really that's what gave me that support to go through that.
That's awesome. So you pursued a master's in industrial technology and technician. Why this program? What about it spoke to you?
I know it's interesting. Like from very young age, I always knew I loved STEM and I really liked technology too at the time. And I'm sure you can see there's a transition, right, of what's going
Yeah.
on. And that was one of the cool things I learned about. You talked about 2025. That was a cool thing I've learned on my life journey about how person changes their interests. And I still had that connection to STEM, but I really wanted to look out to see what was going on with technology because, as you know, technology is now a part of it. We're talking about AI, and then
Oh
even
wow.
at
Yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And I remember I was around, hopefully I don't date myself, where everyone was like, what is Google? This
Oh my gosh, I
voice
remember that.
machine. Yes. And you talk to some of my aunties, they were like, do you know about dial-up child? I was like, what? Phone call? Wait, a landline?
Yeah.
Um, So again, those were some of those interests that I had on there. And then it was completely online. And I really loved the way the class was still able to be inclusive, where I could still be virtually present within a classroom and wonderful teachers there. And then I will also say cost, like it was super affordable. But anyways, it was really great going into the technology field. I learned quite a bit.
That's awesome. You alluded to this a little bit, but can you tell us the differences between and similarities between the undergraduate and graduate program? What are some stark differences? What are some similarities?
Well, similarities, research will always be a part. So learning how to look up resources, your librarian, make friends with your librarians. There's everything. So I love them. I would say the differences we talked about, like knowledge, it was more broad. And then this time I felt like it's very guided, right? Your undergrad, where you're like, here's your syllabus, study this, know this, we're going to
Right.
quiz you, and you have a lot of tests, or you may have like little essays you have to write. And it was interesting because, for example, a stark difference, you talk about it. I used to like freak out all the time when a professor would be like, hey, here's a paper you have to write, 15 pages. And I'd be like,
Mm.
15 pages? And now it's funny because in grad school, I'm like, 15 pages is not enough. Like I'm just going into the
Mm.
historical
You're
pieces
like,
of it.
you're like, wait a minute, I wasn't given enough space or pages to explain myself.
Yeah, so now when I see like 15, I'm like, I freak out. I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? But when my undergrad, I was like, what? Like let me triple space this out or something right in 16 font. But what I liked about, and so one of the cool stark differences I will say is like you are leading your educational journey. Like that's when it begins, where it's like, oh wow, I'm not being spoon-fed things. There's not really tests. You're asking me my opinion about how to solve a problem.
Oh yes, yeah.
And so that's when I could feel my little brain cells really growing in there because I was like, oh wow, like they're asking for like my
You're
opinion.
asking for me what I think?
Yeah. And so that's what I really loved about it. Figuring out, and that continues on in your PhD, where now it's really like, what is it that you think about the world? How do you see it? And tell us why. And
Yeah,
those became very philosophical. But also, I realized what became stronger was the philosophical self-reflection of myself. Like, how do I
so
see
true.
myself as the individual, and how that connects with in my community, with living and non-living entities.
I don't know if you felt this the same way as I did, but it when I majored in communication, it felt like I was contributing to the field. And that was a very different feeling from your undergraduate. As you pointed out, like you feel like not only are they getting to know your thoughts, but you're also contributing to the field itself.
Exactly. You are contributing in very meaningful and profound ways. I think, when you're writing a paper, for example, in undergrad, you're not really seeing it's like, oh, I'm just turning this in for points and to get a
Oh, for
grade.
sure. Yeah.
And then at this level, for example, at a doc level, I'm like, wow, what I say, this could help inform policy. This could help change things in my
Mm.
community. This could bring light a
Hmm.
story or an issue that, for example, indigenous communities face that don't get this
Absolutely.
platform. And then
Right.
you realize you become basically a steward of knowledge.
Let me ask you this. What's something that you'll always remember from your time in your master's program?
I would say it, so there are many good memories. I would say one of the things I would remember most about it would be some of my favorite classes, which was taking my leadership class because I see it was so influential to me. And it was
Hmm.
interesting because actually one of the professors was emeritus from CSU's education department, and
Oh,
that's how I found out
yeah.
about CSU. It was real interesting. And then I will say COVID. So COVID was happening at the time I was
Wow.
taking my master's and those interesting challenges. But yeah, I would say my leadership class and realizing how much impact that it had on me that I still reflect on today. And then also writing my master's thesis, I was so proud of that moment because I'd never written something like that at all.
Wow. Can you talk about the moment you graduated with your master's degree? What did this moment mean to you personally?
Hope, extraordinary. When I
Wow.
graduated with my master's at this level, I did not, like I said, you talked about the high school, which was great. And then undergrad, which was, wonderful. But it really struck me at my master's when I was looking around and seeing like, wow, this is not something everyone has. Or looking at the statistics and then even my
Hmm.
own community, like I said, indigenous populations, where there very few make it up here, realizing the responsibility I felt and obligation I owed to my community to make sure that I got to that next, to be able to open those spaces and open that passage to education and accessibility. And what also came to mind what I valued. And if
Absolutely.
I could do it, it really inspired me to like where I want to go now is teaching and why I'm a part of the McNair program as a GSA because and I'm sure you didn't catch, I was definitely qualified to be part of that program, but did not have that. And all these other factors and components helped me, but looking at programs like TRIO, seeing what it could have done, I was just like, wow, there was a lot of challenges that it could have met, and why I'm so passionate about working with individuals with TRIO, because
That's
we
awesome.
need more. I want more individuals to have that, seeing that. But I would say hope, and then definitely my values of what I want to do in the future.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to talk about that path, your doctoral path, and your that transition to working with the TRIO McNair program. So first, you decided after a master's, more schooling is needed. You want to pursue a doctoral program. How did you arrive at I got to pursue a doctorate?
Yeah, I would say it was based on having more of the language in the sense as you become more educated, you become issues or challenges. Not that I didn't know that thing to begin with, but I began seeing, this is the language or these are the steps and how to make these changes, like with policy. But in particular, I was very passionate about seeing like Indigenous students. I did not have any Indigenous students in my class or even in my master's, and then even seeing the rarity of that at the PhD level. It's and I realized if I were to do something, this is what I could do to use my talents, my gifts, and my abilities to be able to help and serve others, to be able to reach their dreams and their passions. And having more of the accessibility, I became very passionate about access to all for education.
That's awesome. So Colorado neighbors Kansas. That's still a very lengthy distance. How are you enjoying Colorado and how have you adapted?
I have adapted to the point. It's so funny. I had a friend that told me the other day because I was more of a warm weather climate person.
Uh-huh.
Show up Kansas City, like, oh yeah, humidity, that's fine. I can handle that. And love being the beach, but adapting to Colorado, it's like I really enjoy the snow. I enjoy all the cold and the
Yeah,
weather.
yeah.
I really love the mountains with Colorado, so that was really amazing. And I really love the community in Colorado. So yes, it's nearby. It wasn't too far away from some of the relationships in the communities that I built in Kansas City, which I do, go back and visit those individuals. Have several den mothers that have looked out for me there that I always say hello. A lot of aunties, thank you so much, elders, for getting me to this point. But in Colorado, I see the same reflection. It's different with, like I said, wonderful mountains, the snow, the access, but I really do enjoy the community here. It is so loving and caring and supportive. And especially being in Fort Collins, I just adore it so much. And I was very happy because you talked about colleges, and I was thinking about all the different colleges within Colorado, but I'm so happy I settled at CSU.
That's wonderful. And I'm going to put myself on blast here, Cassandra, because had I realized that you were local, I would have scheduled us for a local interview, like a one-on-one in person. My brain immediately went to like, this student must be offline or must be somewhere very far. So I'll do a
Off
Zoom
the
meeting.
grid, Rocky Mountains.
But I appreciate your flexibility. Thank you.
Oh, no, no problem at all. You are so fine. It is so good. But yeah, I just love it because I get to see your tree. Let's talk trio backdrop, which I just adore so much.
Thank you.
So
I
I
appreciate that.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's a really caring community, and that's what I will say. Like being at this level, it really allows me to see just how wonderful the people here in Colorado are. Very neighborly, very kind, very generous. So I find myself very,
Absolutely.
very lucky to be.
So you also work for the TRIO McNair Scholars Program here at CSU. Can you talk about your position and what does it do?
Absolutely. So I probably serve as the graduate support assistant, and what that fancy speak means is that I help individuals find that pathway. So as you talked about earlier about struggling or not having the McNair program, I realized how fortunate I was that individuals stepped in, right? A lot of individuals, community members within the academic community outside of that to help me be able to get here because it was a village. Well, with a program like McNair, it's wonderful because it's like I think of it like a one-stop shop, right? Where we are
Hmm.
able to facilitate, especially with all our relationships, whether it's resources, knowledge on how to go through the graduate application process, or if you're having those doubts, or even community, establishing community with other first gens within CSU. There's a lot of professors and leaders that are also first gen. So that's always my favorite is when we have events that I help host and construct with others in there. So our students can see, wow, this is possible, and seeing the leadership and relating. And I will tell you, that's what was really amazing is having others relate to those certain challenges or situations you may be facing. But we do everything from mentoring to helping with tutoring. We do it all.
That's wonderful. What have you learned about the TRIO McNair program and the other TRIO programs?
I will say that we are all, what I'm inspired with is that we're all with the same goal to offer access to individuals who are not that haven't been traditionally seen as college students. And again, as me being one of them, it's amazing to see that we all have a common through line of a lot of caring individuals, people who are passionate, people who understand those challenges. Seeing with CSU, we all have our unique things, right? Like our branding and our logos, but our structures are all very similar on being able to help students make that pathway, make that journey to graduates. And I will say what I do like is how we're all collectively seeing each other, even though we're in separate chapters, but we're now beginning to start to work with each other to collaborate together. What works, what doesn't work, what are cool ideas that your students really enjoy that we may be able to try, or if there are other challenges that are going on with legislation on Capitol Hill, what can we do to help protect programs like TRIO? So
Oh,
even though
absolutely.
we, yeah, and with McNair, even though we may have McNair, we do have other programs within, but we all have same through line of being able to offer that access to.
What are your career goals?
Yay! My career, I don't know if you can tell, I really want to go into academia. So I would love to teach. I would love to do research and continue that process on unearthing stories that we don't see in mainstream research. A
Hmm.
lot of my passions I told you about was like Indigenous research and Indigenous science and bringing to the forefront the ways in which that's done or how we do it. And in what ways can we help change policy, right, to increase that accessibility and keep building on um, to what we have already done, to those behind us. And I will say, like, I know I did not acknowledge, but I do want to take this moment to acknowledge all those who have worked in TRIO because this program has been going on a long time. And to see what we're at today, and it just keeps going with every single rotation of generations that we keep adding and improving and making it this wonderful, beautiful thing that it is today.
Absolutely. As we reflect on your educational journey, can you share what are some highlights and or challenges you've experienced?
I will say the challenges, I'll start with that so we can appreciate the good points. The challenges I experienced, again, being the only person to do this and seeing how I see the world. As we talked before, not
Hmm.
being comfortable and being able to share how I saw the world or being like, okay, I have to be this person, right? Because a scientist acts, thinks, uh, speaks a certain way and realizing
Sure.
that that is not me. And that should
Mm.
be the definition of a scientist. So those were the challenges of really trying to figure out who I was going to be, how I presented myself as a scientist, and what does that include? Because I like a lot of it's called STEAM education, where it's the traditional STEM, but you integrate the arts. And I
Mm.
realized how I wanted to be the person that took STEAM to higher education. And it hasn't been done, but again, having that scholar warrior mentality to say, I'm going to be a trailblazer, I'm going to help open these paths. Those were some of the challenges that I feel that I have experienced. Because you may have be in a community that doesn't think so, right? So how do you self-advocate for yourself, advocate for these things, and being sure of myself, and again connecting with other community members that aligned with what I was thinking. That's what really helped. But the positive things I would say, taking on that, is I feel so comfortable in my skin. I couldn't believe it took this long, but of who I want to be and
Yeah.
loving that person and going forward and helping others feel the same thing about themselves to be inspired by the way you see the world is so important. You have value and learning that,
I love that.
yeah, you have value. You have something to contribute to your community, to your self growth, to the CSU, to Colorado, to the world. You have a story, you have a voice, and it is so important. Share it with.
My follow-up question to you now is, in your doctoral journey, what can you share with students thinking about pursuing this path?
Yes. I will say don't do the things I did. I'm kidding. I would
Which
say,
is?
yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. I asked for help, but yeah, reaching out, asking for help. Don't, and I guess surrounding yourself with mentors. That is what really helped me was when I was feeling those moments of self-doubt. When I thought at one point in time, and I will tell you, it wasn't easy because some of these challenges, it made me feel like I should quit. I should give up. I don't know what I was thinking. And establishing those relationships was really great because those people were the ones that were like, hey, let me remind you of your goals, or hey, why are you feeling this? Let's help work this challenge together. And I realize now how asking for help was so invaluable, but also surrounding myself with positive individuals that were building me up and not so.
Absolutely. Now that you've been in the world of Trio, what advice do you have for Trio professionals or folks who are in similar positions that of yours? What advice would you have for those involved administratively in the Trio world?
I would say to be open. Be open, because I know a lot of times we all have goals that can vary and values can vary, but I think it's important that we have more conversation and dialogue with, especially on the admin side, with students, with what's going on, but also see it as a co-learning journey. Because I think sometimes I know myself as an educator, and I'll speak on this, or even serving as a GSA, I know we can get very technical and be like, okay, the steps to success is, and I will roll this out in step one, step two, step three.
Mm,
Well, guess what? It never
yeah.
goes out that way. And being open to others in that space to say, hey, you know what? I look as you as my co-learning partner. And even though I may be in this position of authority, I still want to hear your thoughts because you're part of this, right? You're part of this community, and this is who it's going to serve. So being open to that and co-creating so we can build a path forward. So I think that's really important in any space, whether you're a student or at the professional. But keeping that open mind to co-learning, because you'd be surprised things you can accomplish, how genuine it is when you're like, yeah, we tried something new, or yeah, we, overcame that challenge, never thought about it, because we open that space to ask for those different voices and opinions, especially from students. I think is so valuable that are going through it, that we really listen to those stories.
Absolutely. Speaking of students, what advice do you have for TRIO participants in the program, whether they're in McNair or in another TRIO program?
To always follow your North Star wherever it takes you, because so often we look at it and we say, nope. For example, I told you a scientist doesn't think about dance communication. A scientist doesn't put on a dress. And I realized again that was someone else's path. And of course, that for me led to misery and realizing, you know what, I need to realign with who Cassandra is, what Cassandra wants, what she dreams about. And that was following my North Star. And I cannot tell you how many different opportunities, how many different wonderful things, how many people I've met by just going through and again, listening to that inner voice to be like, hey, this is what you want. It's okay, and really rooting down into that. So I will say, follow your North Star.
I love that. That's great advice. What is something that you're currently reading, watching, or listening to?
Oh, I will say one of the really cool things I just watched. I really love Willy Wonka.
Oh, awesome.
The 1960s, yes, 1970s version on Candy. So I have watched that so many times. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I will say, reading one, it's really great. I'm just reading a bunch of poetry that I find, like cultural poems.
I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I love poetry. So any kind of poem, I'm reading it.
That's awesome. What is one word you would use to describe yourself?
My word for 2026, hopeful.
Hopeful. I love that. That's a great word. Cassandra Puletapuai, thank you so much for being on this podcast, for being our guest, for sharing your story, and for all the things that you do for the TRIO McNair program.
Yes, thank you so much, Juan, for having me today. And thank you so much to all your listeners for listening in ways in your community and all that you do in supporting others find their North Star and live their dreams, because it is so important. All deserve to dream, and a future in particular with endless possibilities. So, and I'll leave you with one phrase: let's talk show.
Fantastic. Before we sign off, before we end this episode, first, I want to wish you all the best as you complete your doctoral journey. So we do have a tradition on the Let's Talk TRIO podcast where we have the guests sign off. This is your chance to sign off and say who you are, what degrees you've got, or even share a very valuable quote that you hold near and dear to your heart. I'll give you 3, 2, 1, and take it away.
I will share. I am the hope of dreams.
That's beautiful. Thank you
And
so
I'll
much.
sign off with Let's Talk Trio.
Yes.
Let's
Perfect.
Talk Trio.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a TRIO program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
You just heard from our guest, Cassandra Puletapuai, graduate student at Colorado State University and staff member for the TRIO McNair program. Thank you, Cassandra, for being on the podcast to share your TRIO journey. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Our heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Naputi, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, Eric Lamaster, Jeff Calden, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, Nosotros Education Center, Longsdale Publishing, Student Access, and The Trio Store, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is at Let's Talk Trio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. Be sure to follow the Let's Talk Trio podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This episode was recorded Monday, January 12th, 2026. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.